So OnePlus recently launched the OnePlus 11. It has received some hype with the launch because of certain things that they did with the phone. Now we are doing a long-term review with the OnePlus 11, so our review will be out in a few days. But let's talk about this phone, which is now finally available in India. It's called the 11R, which according to me is a fairly good deal, and it's priced around 40,000 rupees. So I'll have the actual price in the description because we don't have it yet. But on the box it says 44,999, but it'll be less than that. And of course, this variant is the 16GB plus 256GB variant. So keeping that in mind, let's quickly unbox this and take a look at this device, and I'll tell you all the detailed specs and my first impressions. So let's get started. So first thing inside the box is what appears to be some documentation over here, and there's also a back cover, which is nice, a soft back cover. And this will also give me the opportunity to see if there's any dimensional differences between the OnePlus 11 and the OnePlus 11R, and they don't appear to be. So this cover works well on the OnePlus 11. So dimensionally, both of these devices appear to be identical. So we'll keep that. We have some other documentation over here, the membership card, of course, for the Red Cable Club, and some other stuff. And I'm assuming there should be a SIM removal tool as well somewhere. It's right here. And of course you have the little note if anyone's interested in reading that. Like that. You are getting the Oppo branded 100-watt SuperVOOC charger. So that is definitely something that you get, 100 watts of charging, but it uses the old style Type A port. Because of that, you get a fairly beefy Type A to Type C cable. So you can see they've tried to mimic the sandstone finish on the OnePlus 11R as well, but this one has a slightly nicer texture, the 11. This one appears to have a slightly less texturized surface, but it does have a little bit of a texture. It's more glossy in comparison to the OnePlus 11. So you can definitely make out the difference between the two devices. Of course, this one also misses out on the Hasselblad branding. So on the front is a 6.74-inch display. This is a Super AMOLED display. They call it the Super Fluid AMOLED display at 120 Hertz. You also get 360 Hertz of touch response from this. The display does support the P3 color gamut and 10-bit color depth, and it also supports HDR10+. On the front is a 16 megapixel camera, which you can see in the punch hole of the display. This has a 1 micron pixel size and an f2.4 aperture. On the bottom, you'll find a USB Type-C port, along with the SIM tray, the microphone, and the speaker. On the right of the device is the power button and the notification rocker switch. On the top is an infrared blaster, a secondary noise cancelling microphone, and a bunch of other sensors. And on the left is the volume buttons. On the back you can see the textured glass, and of course you have the camera array. In this, the main camera is a Sony IMX890 camera, which is a 50 megapixel camera and has a 1 micron pixel size with an f1.8 aperture. This is also optically stabilized. You also get a ultra wide camera, which is an 8 megapixel camera, and a macro camera, which is a 2 megapixel camera. So no tele in the OnePlus 11R. Now running everything on the inside is the Qualcomm Snapdragon Series 8 Gen 1. Now even though this is last year's flagship chip, it's still very relevant, and for the price that you're paying for this device, it is going to be a really good value for you. I think that it's going to be a better value than the OnePlus 11 for a lot of people, because somewhere in the 40,000 rupee price bracket. So of course this has the 16 plus 256GB of storage. So this is the upper variant, which is priced at around 40,000 rupees. You also have the 8GB plus 128GB of storage variant, which will be significantly lesser. So this will be a really good deal for a lot of people, considering that the chip is still a flagship chip. It's just a 1-year-old flagship chip. Now the battery inside is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which is a fairly good size for such a slim phone. And like I said, it does support the 100 watt of SuperVOOC charging. So at the outset, you can see that the display is fairly similar to that. It is a fluid AMOLED display, super fluid AMOLED display at 120 Hertz. And of course, you have a 360 Hertz of touch response, which is fantastic. Now, this does run Oxygen OS, the new Oxygen OS. It's basically Oppo branded, remade Oxygen OS, but it runs on Oxygen OS 13 out of the box, you can see. And I will see if there are any updates available. So nothing as far as that is concerned. And like I said, this is the 256GB variant, and it does have the Snapdragon Series 8 Gen 1. What's also interesting is you do get flagship hardware as far as the RAM and the storage is also concerned. So you get LPDDR5X for the RAM, and then you get UFS 3.1 2-lane for the storage. So you get really fast flash storage as well as RAM. So as far as performance is concerned, it's going to be right up there. Let's take a look at one thing that I really wanted to see, which is the camera lag and how that works. So I'm just in the auto mode, nothing special over here. So there's a little bit of a response delay, but it seems to be okay for the most part. Now, as far as video is concerned, you do get a few options over here. You can do 4K at 60 frames per second. You can also turn on ultra steady, but that only works in 1080p at 60 frames per second. So I can go back here, go to 4K, then I can choose between 30 and 60 FPS. Both of those options are available to me. And so it can do that. And then you also have slow-mo video. So you can go there and you can see that it does it at 240 FPS or 480 FPS. But this will be at a much lower resolution than 1080. It even shows it here. It does it at 720p. But if you go to 240, you can go up to 1080p. Basically, at the outset, you look at four major differences. First of them being a little bit of a different look. So you can see that this has a different texture on the back glass than this. Of course, you don't have the Hasselblad branding on the 11R. And then the display resolution is slightly less. So that's a QHD Plus display. This is not. So this is more of a slightly more than a full HD Plus. So it's a weird resolution. But it's still pretty sharp as far as the screen goes. And then you do have the option, if you go for the 256 in this phone, you do get UFS 4 storage, whereas in this you get UFS 3.1 storage. Of course, the chip, which is 1 year old in this, again a flagship chip, but 1 year old. And with the cameras, like I was mentioning, so this has a tele camera, whereas the 11R has a macro camera. Which is a 2 megapixel versus the resolution differences, and of course the Hasselblad branding. And then this doesn't shoot 8K, whereas the OnePlus 11 does shoot 8K. So very minor differences for a considerable amount of money. So for around 40K, actually lesser than 40K, you can pick up the OnePlus 11R, which I think is a pretty good value as far as what you're getting out of the box. So let us know what your thoughts are. If you want us to review this device in depth, let us know that in the comments below. This has been Bharat. I'll see you guys in the next one.